Hi, welcome to a new episode. This is super weird for me. I don't know if it's weird for you. The last time I recorded a proper episode, I believe was before Coco turned 1, and she just turned 2. So I don't think it's been a whole year and a half, but it's been more than a year. It's weird. I don't want to prattle on about that too long, but that is very much where my head is at in this moment. Of course, you can always keep up with me on Instagram to see what's going on in my life and Ravelry for my knitting, which gets some play on Instagram, but not gonna lie, Instagram's mainly about Coco these days. Although I am knitting more. I'm knitting more than ever, especially since she started daycare finally a couple months ago. So if you follow Instagram or Ravelry or you've watched any of the vlogs, I think you have a good idea of where I've been and what I've been doing. Mainly taking care of a very tiny person who has become my entire world. But there is still time for knitting, especially when I'm knitting things for her, which is pretty much the dream. And I really wanted to come on and have like a proper episode now, especially since I've been vlogging and I've been sharing those vlogs, and I just absolutely love vlogging, but it does seem a little weird to be doing Vlogmas again, and still no new proper episodes of knitting show and tell, as it were. So that's what I'm here for, and I hope you enjoy. I have a few works in progress I want to share. I'm not going to go through in detail everything I've finished or started and quit or all of that since the last time we spoke. I will pop up a couple photos of a couple sweaters that I have made for Coco in the interim. I would share them in person, but they are in her room and she's napping, and I'm just not gonna gamble with that today. Some days I might. Today I'm not feeling like gambling. But I made her this very sweet fingering weight pullover, which I ended up shortening the sleeves and making more of a summer top than I initially had in mind, mainly because I did choose a fairly thin, I don't know, I ended up having kind of a loose gauge, and it's lacy, and the yarn I was using wasn't super warm and woolly. Just felt like it wanted to be a summer top, and I also felt like I wanted to be done knitting it, which is part of it, but it worked out great because she wore it on her very first day of school, daycare, school as we've been calling it, and that is a very special picture of her that is going to, you know, live in the annals of Coco history forever and in my heart. And I just love that she's wearing something hand knit, that I could send her away for the first time, sending my baby away, and have all of those tiny little stitches that I made by hand just holding her and keeping her safe, and remembering that she was loved just the whole time she was there. It's really cool because she's gotten to a point now where she actually understands that when I'm knitting, I'm making things, and she understands what things I've made for her. When she was really little, you know, she wasn't really aware of it, and now if she sees someone knitting in a book, she'll say, like, "Mommy knits." Anyway, that's all very lovely. And then the other thing that I made for her that I wanted to share photos of, and I still don't have any great photos of it, I don't think, but you know, I have something, is her unicorn sweater, which is a Bad Wolf Girls Sits and Knits design. I think it's the last unicorn. She has it for adults and children, and gosh, I had so much fun knitting this. This was something I knit, I think I made it right after she started school, and it was kind of a like a homecoming for me, like a sort of finding my space and my alone time and my ability to sort of knit something more complex, because I wasn't, I was able to have time even during the day to knit without constant interruption of my thought process. And it made it a very special thing, and it was really wonderful to get to make something that I really enjoyed making, but that was also an object that was just completely made with Coco and what she loves in mind. I made it with all bright colors. It's this purple all over, which is her favorite color. She loves all colors, but purple she identifies with, to the point where she like thinks that things are hers just because they're purple. Like, we'll say it's not yours, and she'll look back at you and say, like, as if she's being very reasonable, like, it's purple? Like, Mom, obviously that means it belongs to me. It's purple. Everybody knows she loves purple. The teachers at her school immediately picked up on the fact that she loves purple. They were like, purple's her favorite color. Have you noticed? I was like, I am aware. So it's purple, and it's rainbows, and it's unicorns, and it is so cute on her. It definitely has that like 80s vibe of those strong like jewel tone, but even maybe a little more bright kind of colors, which I'm like vibing with right now. Like, I've even been looking at like vintage 80s ski jackets online lately, and I keep kind of coming back to these ones that are like purple and teal, which is like so out there. But it's, I don't know, there's something about that combination, man, that is like, it takes me back to my childhood, and I don't know, it's kind of fun. I'm getting into those teals. It's weird. Anyway, I'm kind of wearing those colors today, but in a very muted way. And by the way, I did not make this. This is the kind of sweater that I would love to have made, but I would not enjoy making, because it's just all stuck in it. All stuck in it all day. But it's very pretty, isn't it? I really think someday we need to organize like a proper knitters exchange, like a Secret Santa sort of situation. But what we need to do is match people to the knitter who likes the kind of project that, like, they like the knitting aspect, the process of something the other person likes to wear but doesn't like to make for themselves. Like, we need to match up all the people who want to wear color work but don't like knitting it, and the people who want to wear plain stockinette and don't like knitting it, and like swap patterns and be like, you knit me this and you knit me that. I want to get like a big group and match people all together and like just have like a whole like sweater exchange. I think would be so cool. I probably don't have the mental energy to organize something like that right now, but if you want to steal that idea, I will not be mad. Just make sure you invite me, and otherwise I will maybe get that together in like 3 years. We'll see how it goes. I'm drinking coffee. It's not the morning, it's the afternoon, but this is my first cup of coffee in my really fantastic like vintage Santa mug. I've been wanting one of these for a long time. I finally got myself one this year. I kept trying to find it at the thrift store. I really wanted to buy one that was actually used, and it seems like that should be easy enough to find, but you know what? You can find all the other ones. You can always find like penguins and elves and stuff. Somebody's snapping the Santas up. Like, I can't find them anyway. So I just bought it new, and it's just vintage inspired, and I just kind of like got over myself about wanting it to be used. But really rambling, aren't I? I'm also, if I'm looking up a lot, it's because I now have like, I'm filming on a new camera, newish, new since I filmed the last episode. It has like a flip up monitor. It's really hard when you have that to not like constantly be looking at yourself. Like, maybe I should flip it down so I'm not doing, I don't know. Okay. I want to share whips. What should I share first? I'm going to share the one I'm the most excited about first. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I feel like I would normally save it, but I'm too excited. I haven't done this in too long. Okay. This is Coco's hat that I'm making for her this year. But does it go like this? No, it does not go like that. Let me explain. What do you see here? Steeking rows. So here's what it is. It's gonna be like a little bonnet, okay? This is the back of her head. This cute little star. I mean, is that not the freaking cutest thing? Oh my God. So that's the back of her head. And then it's going to get steeked here, which will be up the bottom. So this will kind of like open up, if you will. And this is going to be the front, if you can imagine that. So it's got these lovely sort of traditional Norwegian or Scandinavian in any way looking like snowflakes. I did it in the classic black and white to preserve that like traditional vibe. And I knit this with Brooklyn Tweed Arbor that I had actually bought to make a stuffed panda bear. But my new rule for myself is that if there's something I want to knit and there's something in my stash that works for it, I'm not saving the things in my stash for like the plans I made when I bought them anymore, because there's too many plans and there's too many things that I bought that I haven't gotten to the plans, and like I don't want to constantly just be knitting the things that I wanted to knit before that I made the mistake of going ahead and buying the yarn for. I want to be knitting what I want to knit now, what I need now, what my daughter needs now. So it was like, you know what, in the future I may still want to make that panda bear and I'm gonna have to buy that yarn again. What are you gonna do? Now I would go out and buy new yarn if I didn't have it like what I had in my mind. I wanted it to be black and white. It needed to fit the gauge close enough to the pattern. I actually used a DK and it was made for sport, but I sized down a little bit in the pattern, and anyway, we'll see how it goes. It's always kind of a crapshoot for me with hats. Like they never really I never could really get the fit perfect, so I kind of threw my hands up in the air, tried to offset a bunch of different variables, and then figured since it's sort of an open bonnet, like if it's a little bit big or a little bit small, it's okay, and I'd like it to kind of fit her for several years and just sort of do its thing. So whatever. The point I was trying to make is I definitely wanted it to be black and white, and it had to kind of be the right gauge, and it had to be a woolly wool that I could steek with, right? And I wanted it to be warm and stuff, and it couldn't be crazy scratchy because it's gonna go on a 2-year-old's head. So there were obviously lots of things that it needed to fit the bill, and if I didn't have that in my stash, absolutely I was gonna go out and buy it. But if I had something in my stash that was just waiting for another project that I had bought it for, and that I'm not doing anymore. I'm not using yarn that I have that is good for the project I want to make now. I don't know how many other people have these kinds of problems where they have like weird rules that they set for themselves, or they feel like guilt about like unfinished projects or yarn you bought for something that you changed your mind, or it seems to be like a major thing for me. I always am having to like fight against my natural perfectionistic instincts, and I have like the rules that my brain wants to make for me, which don't make me happy, and then I try to come up with like new rules to follow, which are based on like being healthier and like more forgiving of myself and like following what actually makes me happy and not arbitrary things that seem like they should be correct. But I still frame them as rules because that is how my brain works. So I would love to be a knitter who just didn't like sweat any of this. There are probably people with that brain or a personality like out there in the world. I'm sure there are. I, however, am an OCD type 3 Enneagram with major perfectionistic problems that I've been working through in therapy for most of my life. And you know what? I'm a lot better than I used to be. And good on me for that. And good on me for using that yarn and making this adorable bonnet. The steek, I have to steek before I can do the rest of it. I'm gonna steek and then it'll need more ribbing and little I-cord ties. And I think I'm gonna steek it tomorrow while I'm recording Vlogmas so it can go on the vlog. So make sure you check out Vlogmas episode 3. I don't know if that'll post before or after this, but check it out if you want to see me steek, because I believe that is when I'm gonna steek. Should be really fun. Ooh, I should show you my floats, right? We like to share floats. I always like to see floats. Not terrible. Boop, boop, boop. I did knit this magic loop, and I really do not love knitting color work in magic loop. I don't like having to do floats across the gap, the 2 gaps that you get in when you're making a magic loop, because I feel like it's really hard for me to keep my tension where I want it to be on the yarn that's floating. I don't normally have problems with that in magic loop or when I'm knitting with double points or anything. I mean, I know those like ladders and stuff is a problem that people can have. I think when you kind of have knit for a long time, you get used to like how to adjust your tension just at that point so that it's not too tight and it's not too loose. And but with colorwork, maybe just because I haven't been colorwork knitting as long as I've been knitting, maybe I need to try just like catching my float right before it, just as like a practice, regardless of how many stitches I've made in the other color. Maybe that's what I'll try next time, because I feel like that could help a lot. Yeah, the other thing that does help is knitting inside out. I love to knit, I love to do color work inside out, which would be easier to explain if I had this on my needles, but basically it's just what it sounds like. You have it like this, and then you're looking at the inside of your loop, which is the outside of the eventual project, and you're knitting along with that facing you and your extra here, instead of knitting along with that facing you and your extra over here. That's essentially all you're doing. It freaks you out a little at first, but it's actually not that complicated. I'm sure there are videos showing you how to do it if you're interested, because that was probably not the best explainer. I do that sometimes, that helps. I did that a little bit with this, but when I got into the decreases, I for some reason didn't love doing that over the decreases. It was just, I also at that point had these like bound off steek stitches that I was dealing with, that I was trying to like keep from messing up my tension, where I was then joining the yarn that had been on either side of the steek that was now together. So there were like a lot of weird tensiony things happening all at once. And you know, it just is the kind of thing that it's like, sometimes it kind of slows you down, or it's kind of like just not your favorite part of the process. But I don't think I had any major problems that aren't gonna like totally disappear with blocking. So that's what matters. The next thing I want to share is another project for Coco, and then I have a sweater I'm working on for myself. So this is a cardigan that I am designing, I guess. I'm making up the pattern. I am not writing down or gauging or publishing or selling the pattern. I'll probably put notes on Ravelry of what I did. I've been wanting a cardigan for her that is like oversized and covered in baubles and is this sort of rusty orangey brown color, which is actually coming off brighter and almost redder in the light. I would say it's more brown than it looks on camera. I've looked for different patterns that I could alter to be what I had in mind, but ultimately I just decided it made more sense to just kind of make it up. Now, that being said, I don't think it is, it's got some issues. I started with a like calculation or recipe or whatever I found online for you know, basically like how to break up your stitch count for a raglan sweater depending on what size you wanted it to be and the gauge you're getting, you know, like a calculator. And I can't remember the details of what I screwed up anymore, but I know, you know what it might have been? It might have had to do with the with like the, did I do like a tubular cast on? No, it doesn't look like it. I don't remember what I screwed up anymore, but somehow I had not the right stitch count. And so what that gave me is, then I increased and it gave me this little like almost mandarin collar. Just sort of sticks up a little bit here, which I don't mind. I'm just working with it. It's not what I was planning on. And then I have this sort of shape of the front panels where they kind of grow toward each other in a sort of a, yeah, you can see it there. That sort of a shape. Which again was not a plan. It's just the shape it ended up wanting to take. This was something I made in a mindset of like, just kind of wanting to explore. And, you know, obviously I could rip back and redo it and do it different ways. But I kind of just wanted to learn by doing and continuing to do and like continuing to problem solve on the fly. I don't know, it's not how I normally work. It was very much just the mood I was in when I was making it, I guess. Oh, she just woke up. Her daddy is up there, so I think he's gonna get her. It's just the mood I was in. It's funny because I hear other people talk about their process and doing things like that, and I usually go like, oh, I can't relate to that at all. Like I've never felt like I wanted to just kind of keep rolling with the weirdnesses of my work. I usually like to go back and make it what I wanted it to be. That was what I was in the mood for now. Am I gonna like the sweater when it's done? No idea. Is Coco gonna like it? I don't know. But I will have enjoyed making it. Although, after I made this body of it, all I need to do now is the sleeves. And it has sat for quite a while. Probably because, you know, the sleeves aren't as fun. You know what? I said I was gonna put notes on my project on Ravelry, but now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, I don't remember enough. So I guess I screwed that up. Sorry. Ordinarily, I keep saying ordinarily like that's who I still am or what my life still is. Before I had a child, I would have, you know, kept track of what I did and then written it up for you guys. Now I can barely manage to film, so I guess just everybody lower their expectations. Because this is where we're at right now. Sorry. Honestly, you don't even want notes of what I did. You really don't. You don't. Because it's weird. The yarn is beautiful. It's Quince & Co. something. Gingerbread is the colorway. And it is maybe like their worsted weight or something. It might be Lark. Something like that. It's on Ravelry. Oh, you know what I did do that's cool is this edging. Here's the inside of it. Yeah. That's the inside. Here it is on the outside. And I did this with slip stitches and ribbing. So I would slip, I set it up like a knit purl, right? And then I would like a 1x1 rip, and then I would slip the knits and purl the purls, and then on the other side I would slip what was on that side of the knits and purl the purls. And it created this really cool like double thick. It's not like a hollow. No, I guess it is kind of a hollow. Yeah, it's like, I guess I did like a double knitting. I did double knitting way back in the day and I don't really remember how to do it. So maybe that's what I did. Anyway, what I was trying to do was create something that read almost like stockinette, or yeah, read like, I didn't want it to look like one long bit of ribbing. I wanted it to look more like stockinette. I wanted the pearls to kind of disappear, but for it to not curl. So yeah, it's kind of cool. And that is that sweater. And the final thing I have to share with you is the sweater I'm working on for myself. So I haven't touched this in a little while because I've been working on those cocoa projects. But I started this maybe in August, and I really would love to get back to it and finish it and move on to another sweater for myself. Especially since this is like a more of a transition piece, and it would be cool to have a nice, to actually finish a nice big wintertime sweater that I could wear in the wintertime now. Especially since most of my hand knits don't fit me, or don't fit me how I'd like them to fit me currently, because I'm still breastfeeding. So in addition to having like postpartum extra weight right now, I have like the largest chest I've ever seen. So that's making things really fun in terms of clothing. So it would be nice to make something else for myself that I could wear this winter. And maybe I'll just set this aside and start on something, I don't know. But I do feel like getting back to it. This is the inside. And the reason you're seeing the inside is because I am knitting this inside out, like I described earlier. That's right. So this would be a better example of how to kind of show you that, right? So here's me knitting like this. And what I have facing me, can you hear her? She just said, oh my goodness. Augie puked, oh my goodness. Augie puked, honey? I puked. Yeah? Don't touch it, okay? Let Daddy clean it up?
Just a little bit.
So here's the outside of the garment, and it's on the inside. Hi, babe. And so imagine you're me, right? You're just knitting along. It's not that weird. You just knit along. And you just have your excess in front of it instead of behind it. That's all it is. Oh, Coco, don't. Hello. Thank you. That's Mommy's coffee.
A Santa coffee.
Yes, it's in a Santa mug. I forgot you hadn't seen the mug yet. Isn't it cool?
I didn't tell you.
Yeah. You like it? Do you want to come sit on Mama's lap and say hi to the camera? Do you want to? Yeah. Come here. I'm getting Mama's lap. Yeah, come here.
Okay, hi to them.
Hi to the camera. Hi. Can you say hi?
Hi, camera.
Hi, camera.
And Daddy, that's
Oh, Daddy got you snacks. Look how big you are. Can you tell the camera how old are you?
2.
Good job! 2 years old. With this cute little bed head you got going on. And your cute little face. Why are you so cute? Do you want to go play with Daddy and Mommy will be done really soon? Yeah? Okay. Good girl. Here, you want your puffs? Okay.
Can we open our present?
No. I'll see you real soon.
Don't spill your snacks.
I love her. So this is the Jupiter crop by Caitlin Hunter. Oh my gosh, everyone's so shocked. Celeste's making another Caitlin Hunter pattern. I love it. I love these colors. I'm using similar colors to the sample. I'm using the yarn the sample is made out of, which is Vovo by Retrozaria. If focus. Vovo. I just love her labels. I absolutely love Retrozaria. Went to their store when we were in Portugal almost 3 years ago now. It's just, this stuff feels so good. I'm used to the Mondim, which is the, is that what it's called? The fingering weight. And this is like her DK weight, I feel like. I should know these things, but you know. So I'm using the yarn from the sample and I'm using similar colors because I just really loved the colors in the sample. It's inspired by one of her chickens and it's like feather patterns, and I just think sometimes when you get inspiration from nature, it's just so perfect that it's like hard to improve on. I think the color story, as well as the way those colors played together in these sort of feather-like shapes, is very much the attitude of the garment. So I didn't want to change it a lot. Also, I'm generally a person who does tend to get, like, I will fall in love with the colors of a sample a lot. And I always want to be more that like creative person who's making it their own. But I very frequently will just sort of go all in because I have trouble not falling in love with the sample, and I have trouble like seeing the potential in samples that are not colors that I like, and sort of just like seeing the shapes and imagining in my own brain what I could do with them. Like, that's something I actually want to work on. I don't care if I mean, I can knit as many samples and as many sample colors as they want. I don't have to prove my creativity to anybody, it's fine. But what I would like to do, to be better at, is seeing the potential. Because I know knitters who will pick up a pattern that they would not ordinarily be drawn to, or I wouldn't think they would be drawn to, or whatever. Like, say I have a friend who's very into bright colors, and they will pick up a pattern where the sample was all neutrals, and then they will themselves put it together in their own color palette and just make it their own, and it's like so inspiring. Like, I want to be better at doing that. Like, I feel like Christy Glass does that all the time. She's constantly picking out something and then making it in like her very specific Christy Glass like color palette and vibe, and she just totally transforms things and makes them her own vibe. Whereas I feel like I just keep knitting the patterns from like the same creators who already have my vibe, if that makes sense. Anyway, it's so pretty. Here's what I changed. I wanted it to be more pinks, so I think she had like a gray here, and I subbed in a darker pink. So I have the light pink and the darker pink. And then I also think I went with this more rust color, and I think she had a different variation of a rust that was maybe less orangey. Like maybe more of a mustardy. That's my memory. I could be wrong about that. I also am pretty sure I went with a true black for the background, and I'm pretty sure she had maybe like a navy or a charcoal, something that wasn't quite as dark, I feel like. Anyway, you can look for yourself at the pattern and see, and on my project page if you actually want to know. Because Lord knows I don't remember exactly anymore. I love this. It's gonna be color work all the way over. I finished the yoke here, and then I'm on the body, as you can see. I don't have long to go because it is cropped, and then it's gonna have short sleeves, so it really doesn't have that much more to go. You know, you get to that point on the yoke where you feel like you're never gonna be finished with the sweater when you're doing top down, because the yoke just keeps getting freaking bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when you drop off those sleeves and you get onto the body and you're like, oh, I'm like over halfway done, and I felt like I had just started because I was just on the yoke. I don't know why, but we think that the yoke is just the beginning, and by the time you get to those final rows on the yoke, they are so long because you're going around like your arms too, and it's just like, it takes forever, and in your mind you feel like you've just started the pattern and you're going like, how am I ever gonna get through this? And then just like bam, you're over halfway done. That's how I feel anyway. Love this. Don't have a ton to say about it other than love it. Love working on it. I briefly considered adding some short rows to, if you can see right here, the pink has it. Well, you know what? It's easier to see on the back. The pink is sort of doing its own thing for a minute, where there's like a couple rows where you don't do color work. I kind of considered throwing in some short rows for the front, because you can use short rows sort of like darts to make a garment fit better over a large bust. Ultimately, I decided, because I am going for like an oversized fit on this, that I probably don't need to get so specific, because I think I'm just generally going for enough of an oversized shape that like my bust is just going to be inside of it, and it's fine. Maybe I'll regret it later, I don't know, but that is a fun little tip for you if you like. I got that from Jacqueline Sislak. Not sure if that's the right way to say her last name. But she is a wonderful designer of size inclusive patterns. She loves to sew too. She's incredible on Instagram. And she designed this linen crop top that I was making last summer, the summer of 2020, when I last talked to you guys. I think I was working on it, and it had instructions in there for different size darts depending on your cup size, and so you would do a different number of short rows or start them in a different place or something. And I just thought, my God, why does every pattern not have this? This is so fantastic. So definitely something I'll think about trying to incorporate myself as an adjustment in the future, especially if I ever make more fitted things again. Although right now I'm definitely not feeling like making anything fitted because I'm huge. And also when I'm done breastfeeding, I'm fully getting my breast reduction finally. And so then anything that I made to be fitted for a large bust is just gonna be super weird. Whereas if I make oversized things, I feel like I can still wear oversized things even if I'm a totally different shape and proportion later. I'm trying to make things that I love how they look on me now, but with a little bit in the back of my mind of, can I still wear them later? Because I have a ton of hand knit things that I made before I was pregnant that I can't wear anymore. And I don't want to make a ton more things now that I then can't wear post breastfeeding. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just like keep making more garments that I could wear for like a couple years and then get no more wear out of. So trying to think ahead a little bit. We'll see how it goes. The other thing to say about this is this was my first pattern with some rows where you had 3 colors in a single row. Yeah, right here. You see where the dark pink becomes the light pink? There's a row or 2 in here where the pink pokes far down enough and this pokes far up enough that you actually have black and both pinks on the same round. And I think it might be here as well.
I found it.
You want the Santa mug? Okay, Mommy's coffee is in it right now. When I'm all done drinking it, you can have it, okay? So there's, you know, this nice advantage if you design with 3 colors to a row of being able to have this kind of stuff happening in your design where things are, you know, the feathers are sort of crossing more over each other, if you will. Makes it a little bit more difficult to knit. The thing is, it's nothing that you don't know how to do, because it's like, it's just adding another color to what you're already doing. It's just that it slows everything way down, because you lose your rhythm of like this yarn, that yarn, this yarn, and suddenly when there's 3, if you're a 2-handed knitter, you're having to hold 2 in one hand. If you're like a 2-handed colorwork person, and if you're not, then you have like all 3, which is weird. And anyway, it's not difficult, it's a little annoying. I don't think I would, for fun, just like go out and choose a pattern where I was gonna have to do a lot of rows like that. This pattern only had a few like that, so it was like, whatever. You get to those points, and it's like with any other project, where occasionally there's just gonna be a complicated row where you're doing something weird that isn't super fun to do, and you just get over it. But I like the whole general rhythm of what I'm doing to. I never really mind when there's just a little bit of a pattern that's something that's not fun, but I want the general rhythm of what the bulk of the process is to be the kind of knitting that I like. I want it to be, you know, cables or color work. I want it to be fun. I want it to be potato chippy. So there you have it. You've been warned. Excited to get this baby off the needles and onto my body, honestly. So I guess that is what I have to share with you today. Like I said, make sure you tune into Vlogmas, especially episode 3, where I plan to be steeking that hat for Coco. And hopefully it won't be so long until we can do this again. If you have questions about my projects, you can check out the project pages on Ravelry, which I'm linking down below. You can also just leave me a comment. Make sure to follow me on Instagram for more life and knitting updates. Add me on Ravelry, and I will see you back sometime soon. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed having me back. Helps me out, appreciate it. And thanks for sticking with me, anybody who's been sitting waiting for me to come back and is happy to reconnect. Leave a comment if you like. I'd like to hear from you. See you sometime soon. Bye.